Hello, this is Furry7, and as some of you may know, on August 4th, 2015, Microsoft officially announced Halo Wars 2. It's gonna come sometime in 2016, or at least that's the plan, and they not only announced the information, but they also released a video, trailer, announcement trailer. You can look it up on YouTube. This is actually particularly important news for me personally. As some of you know, I am one of the biggest fans of Halo Wars out there. I have tons of videos on Halo Wars. You can actually scroll down below this video and you can click the link to see my Halo Wars playlist. Every Halo Wars video I've ever done is in that playlist. I have quite a few Halo Wars videos in there. And ever since the news broke out, my inbox has been flooded with messages about Halo Wars 2. Hey, did you hear they're making a Halo Wars 2? Did you hear about it? Yeah, you're only the 50th person to tell me about it. So, I finally decided to make this video to talk about my thoughts, feelings, predictions, criticisms, etc. concerning this whole affair. And the idea of Halo Wars 2 has actually been brought up. A lot of people have asked me about the possibility of a Halo Wars 2, what kinds of things would I expect and stuff like that. And every time that subject has come up of a sequel to Halo Wars, I've always been a little leery about it. I wasn't jumping up and down excited. And even when I read the article and watched the trailer, I really, honestly, was not too excited. I was excited for sure, but I wasn't jumping up and down about it. I'll explain. I will explain everything throughout the course of this video, so stay with me. I absolutely love Halo Wars. As far as it has to be one of my favorite games, if not my most favorite games to play. One of my favorite games, multiplayer-wise. I'm not talking about the single player right now, because I have a lot of complaints about single player in Halo Wars. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect game, but as far as the multiplayer goes, outside of the bugs and glitches, Halo Wars is perfectly balanced. This is the most balanced asymmetric game I've played probably in a long time, if ever. and I really can say this confidently because I've heard just about every type of complaint you can imagine about brokenness in the multiplayer. I've heard all kinds of things. I've heard people say that the Prophet of Regret is overpowered. I've heard people say that the Arbiter is overpowered. I've heard people say that the Chieftain is overpowered. I've heard people say that Covenant in general is overpowered. I've heard people say Anders is overpowered. I've heard people say Cutter is overpowered. I've heard people say Warthogs are overpowered. I've heard people say Hawks are overpowered. I've heard people say Grizzlies are overpowered. I've heard people say Scarabs are overpowered. I've heard just about everything you can think of. And I have debunked every single one of those claims at least once throughout my videos. Some of them I felt like I needed to debunk more than once because some of these things are so pervasive. But part of the reason why I love Halo Wars so much, I think probably the biggest reason why, is because there is no such thing as a universally unbeatable strategy. Every unit, every faction, every strategy, every playstyle, every build has strengths and weaknesses. Some of them seem to have more strengths, less weaknesses, more weaknesses, less strengths, but nothing is overpowered. I mean, I've looked over everything. And this is mostly as far as the single player goes. Now, as far as the not the single player, the one versus ones, the solo games. Now, as far as the team games go, most of the complaints I've seen on team games being imbalanced, most of that is caused by map layouts. It's not caused by the units themselves. It's because of map design, poor map design, things like that, which is one of the other reasons I don't play team games. But as far as, especially, now I'm talking about outside of bugs and glitches. I mean, we can all point to bugs and glitches that can be overpowered, but as outside of bugs and glitches, which there are quite a few of in this game, unfixed bugs and glitches, outside of that, pretty much there is no such thing as a universally unbeatable strategy. Every strategy can be beaten by a different strategy. The time when something gets overpowered is when that strategy can only be beaten by an identical strategy. So, it can only beat itself, is basically the scenario. And that really doesn't happen in Halo Wars. And if you think that there is a topic that I missed, put it down in the comments. I will happily debunk it. Again, as far as the 1v1s and outside of bugs and glitches, it's near perfect. And I really like that. And not only that, but the game is designed in such a way that you really do need to put skill, effort, and thought into how you play. People have asked me, hey, you should make a video that explains a step-by-step strategy in detail of what to do in the game. And I've told them again, there is no step-by-step strategy. Even me, on my videos, I pretty much only use the chieftain, but even then, my strategy will change depending on what map I'm on, who I'm playing against, circumstances and situations. There is no one single cookie-cutter thing. And that's one of the things I love about Halo Wars, is that you need to put skill and strategy in this. Spamming Scorpion tanks and just steamrolling your way from one side of the map to the other, as Yahtzee did in his zero punctuation video of Halo Wars, that may work in the single player. But in the multiplayer, you're going to need to put a little bit more effort if you want to compete with the big boys. And that's probably the biggest reason why I play this game, is because of how well thought out, how much effort and work they put into this game. Now, I understand when the game was first released, it had major problems, balancing issues. They had to do a major nerf on Anders, because apparently she was, at the time, way overpowered, and they nerfed her powers a little. I think Anders is just fine now. I don't think she needs any more work done. I think she's just fine. There are some people who try to say that Anders is overpowered, and I've debunked that over and over again throughout my videos. But it had issues when the game was first released, but they fixed them, or at least they fixed most of them. I mean, there are some glitches that exist to this day, but for the most part, they were listening to the feedback and they fixed the issues. And that's more than I can say for the developers and publishers that are making games nowadays. I mean, how many times has a game been released in an unfinished state, riddled with bugs and glitches, and they never get fixed? In fact, some of you remember before Arkham Knight, which is a disaster on the PC. Arkham Origins was the one before that, and it had major, I even did a video on it, major game-breaking bugs and issues, and apparently the Warner Brothers was too busy working on DLC to actually fix it. So, I mean, and this type of thing has happened over and over again. And the reason why this worries me is partly because, this game is being developed by Creative Assembly. Now, if you don't know about Creative Assembly, look them up. They are pretty much dedicated to RTS titles. They've made a ton of games. They're probably most popular for the Total War series. And for the most part, it looks like they've been doing a good job. But some of the titles recently in the Total War series, like Rome 2, I'm putting the icon in the upper right-hand corner. You can watch Angry Joe's review of Rome 2. The game was released. It was just released in 2013, not too long ago. And when it released in a buggy, unfinished state, broken multiplayer, and all that. Now, a lot of people blame Sega for what happened. Creative Assembly is currently owned by Sega, and Sega itself has a myriad of problems. I hate Sega. They've been, what they've been doing with their games is terrible. Also, Sega has been pretty tough on YouTubers, doing copyright flags on people's videos. I've never done any Sega games, so luckily I've been able to avoid that, but a lot of other people weren't so lucky doing Sega games, and then they get content ID flagged, or sometimes even they get copyright claimed on their videos. In fact, just yesterday I got one of my Halo Wars videos got content ID matched, and now I can't monetize it anymore. It was an old video from a year ago. I think it's the tutorial video with Innocent Horizon. It's still viewable on YouTube. It's just been claimed by somebody now, so. Now, for the most part, I have no doubt that Creative Assembly can do a masterpiece with Halo Wars 2. Especially since it's coming out for PC. They're going to make a PC version and a console version. Creative Assembly, as far as I know, they've been doing mostly just PC titles. I think a couple titles may have come out on consoles, but I'm not sure of that. But so yeah, I think they can do a great job. But the thing is, I really want Halo Wars 2 to be absolutely amazing and incredible and the best game I've ever played. Yeah, what are the chances that's going to happen with Sega? Now, the other problem I have is 343 Industries. They are involved in the process as well. If you watch the launch trailer, their logo appears, and if you read some of the articles, 343, somebody from 343, originally announced it. Now, I want 343's involvement in the development process to be kept at a minimum. I really am not on very good terms with 343 right now. I honestly liked the Halo series a lot better when it was Bungie. Combat Evolved. I mean, I played that game. I beat that game so many times. It's outrageous. I absolutely loved it. Halo 2, Halo 3, but then when 343 started getting involved, especially with, I think Halo 4 was pretty much the breaking point for me, was when I just stopped caring about Halo anymore. I was such a giant fan of the series, but then 343 came along and they started making all these changes to make the game more like Call of Duty. They took away the kill points in the multiplayer mode and changed. Then took away the kill counters and changed it with a point counter. So now it's a certain number of points, and they made other drastic changes. I'm really not going to get into that right now, but the thing is that the point is that I liked it a lot better when it was Bungie. 343 is okay, but I really don't agree with a lot of the changes. A lot of the changes they made with Halo, they changed a lot of stuff that I liked about the series that's really not there anymore. And I think that 343 can be beneficial in the process of Halo Wars 2. I think as long as they keep it to making sure that the creative assembly guys get the lore right, the characters right, so that they don't do something that feels wrong, like jackals with wings or something. Just make sure that everything matches up, so that a longtime fan of the Halo series can play Halo Wars 2, and it doesn't feel out of place. It feels like a Halo game. I want it to feel like a Halo game, and I think 343 can make that happen. And so, as long as they keep their role to that as more like consultants, I'll be happy. But I really want Sega's hand at this to be kept in the minimum. I want 343's hand in this to be kept at a minimum. And I think if the publisher just kind of sits back and lets Creative Assembly do their thing, I think it can work. But a lot of problems happen with when publishers like to push games before release. They like to push they like to push games to release too early. They like to push a lot of gimmicks and useless DLC and all of this other stuff that the developers may not have initially wanted, but the publishers want it. And I have a feeling that that's what's going to happen with Halo 2. It's possible that Halo 2 is not Halo 2, Halo Wars 2. I'm extremely tired. I didn't get very much sleep, so you'll have to forgive me. It's possible that Halo Wars 2 is going to be an amazing masterpiece. It's going to blow your mind. But that's only going to happen if certain protocols are met. And I really don't think 343, I know Creative Assembly's up to the task, but I'm really not so sure about Sega and 343. I'm really not so sure. I would really like it if they, number one, did enough QA, do enough testing. And there's way too many games that are being released that have not gone through enough testing. And they get released in a buggy state that is absolutely terrible. And this is what happened with the Total War Rome 2 that was released in 2013, made by Creative Assembly. It was released way too quickly. It didn't have enough testing done to it. And as a result, it was just broken. There were some good things about the game, for sure. But we've seen this happen time and time again. And this is not the first time this type of thing has happened. The trailer for Halo Wars 2 looked cool. Didn't have any gameplay whatsoever. But, it's enough to get you feeling excited and stuff like that. And it's a really exciting trailer. But, I mean, how often have we seen amazing trailers that blow your mind, and then the real game comes out, and it's absolutely nothing like what was advertised. And I'm not saying that's going to happen with Halo Wars 2, but it could happen. It really could. Halo Wars 2 is not exempt from this phenomenon. The developer and the publisher needs to have due diligence. They need to make sure that they get enough people on their team that are very knowledgeable about the original Halo Wars. I'm not talking about me specifically. That would be cool. But people who are knowledgeable about the original Halo Wars know what Halo Wars needs, what it doesn't, and only innovate if there is an improvement to be made. This is one of the things I was originally planning on making a Batman Arkham Knight rant video. A lot of people were complaining about how the Batmobile was implemented, and even before that game was even released, I said that Rocksteady, Warner Brothers, do not innovate unless there's an improvement to be made. Don't release some sort of gimmick just for the sake of doing something new. You only do something new if there's an improvement to be made, and make sure you're doing it well. And this is the trap that a lot of publishers and game developers fall into. They feel the pressure to be new, different, and innovative. So what they do is they hastily write up some sort of gimmick and then slap it into the game, and then the game is released and it turns out to be a mess, and it was poorly implemented, and it wasn't tested very well, and just not necessary. And they really haven't given us very much information about what's going to happen with Halo Wars 2. They've given out pretty much no information. The trailer has no information in it. And so I really don't know for sure, but please, we're pretty pleased with sugar on the top. If anybody in any of those companies is listening to this video, do not innovate just for nothing, just for the sake of innovating. You innovate when there is an improvement to be made. Don't put some sort of gimmick in the game that's poorly implemented and not tested at all and not very well thought out and doesn't even fit with the story just for the sake of doing something new. Because we've seen game after game do this, and it just gets to me after a while. So please don't ruin Halo Wars 2. I know you can do this. I know you can pull it off. You can make it amazing, but that's not going to happen automatically. You guys got to do the due diligence. Do it well. It's going to be amazing. But if you don't, if you just throw caution to the wind and just start throwing out stuff just without thinking about it, it's not going to end well. And what's more than likely going to happen is I'm still going to play the original Halo Wars, and I'm probably not going to touch Halo Wars 2. And other people won't either. Now, keyboard and mouse support. They are releasing this on Windows 10 PCs. They haven't said anything about releasing it for other operating systems. So, since it is really being released for Windows 10, that means we assume that it will have keyboard and mouse support. It may have keyboard and mouse support for the Xbox One, but so far that hasn't been confirmed yet. But we do know that Microsoft has said that they do want keyboard and mouse support for more of their games, so that you don't have to use only a controller on the Xbox One. So it may be the case that keyboard and mouse may be just as viable an option on the PC version of Halo Wars 2 as it is on the console. That would be pretty cool. Although I really don't want them to drop the idea of the controller. Although that may be a double-edged dance. Double-edged dance is the name of a Pokemon move on one of the cards. But that may be a double-edged dance, because if the game is optimized for a controller and keyboard and mouse support is simply tacked on, it may be, the controls may, or not may, probably will, be not very good with keyboard and mouse. Also, that's going to change the game fundamentally, because when you make, part of the problems of making a multi-platform game is that you have to design the game in a way that accommodates the platform with the fewest buttons. So if they make the game compatible with both a controller and a keyboard and mouse, then more than likely they're going to stick with the controller portion. The controllers don't have as many buttons as keyboards and mice. So when they make the game, they have to make it function with both a controller and a keyboard and mouse. And there's a lot of constraints that go along with trying to do that. Hopefully they will be able to pull it off to make it so that you can easily switch, in the options menu keys. Hopefully the keys will be rebindable. Oh my god, it's gonna be terrible if it's not. But keyboard and mouse, if the game is going to be compatible for both, especially on the PC version of Halo Wars 2, we could see a little bit of clunkiness in one of the two. It's either going to be clunky on the controller or clunky on the keyboard. They might be able to figure out a way to make it smooth sailing for both types of devices, but I don't know. I haven't really seen any game do that very well. Usually a game works better on one type of controller than it does on another. It either works better on a controller or it works better on keyboard and mouse. It's usually not the same for both. It's usually one or the other. However, one thing that I am hoping for is that since the game is releasing for both PC and console, and since it will be compatible with both controller and keyboard, then hopefully we can have multi-platform multiplayer. A person on PC can play against a person on the Xbox One. That would be absolutely amazing. Are they going to do it? Probably not, but here's hoping. That would be cool if they did. But that'd be cool if they did. Hopefully they won't try to squeeze more money out of you by trying to make you buy 2 copies of the game, one for the PC and one for the Xbox, but that's probably not going to happen. That's probably not going to happen. So, there is a lot more stuff I can say. I can do another video. I'll probably have to do more videos as the story unfolds. They really haven't given us very much information to work with. The trailer contains, is pretty useless. I mean, it gives you a warm, fuzzy feeling inside, but it doesn't have any information in it. Also, make sure to leave a comment at the bottom of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave a comment on this video. Now, I know it may sound like I'm being very negative, but I'm really not being negative. I really want Halo Wars 2 to be the absolutely amazing, as good as, or maybe even better than the first Halo Wars. But they gotta avoid the traps that these other game companies have fallen into time after time after time. And that's not gonna happen by itself. They're gonna need to listen. They're gonna get good testers to test out the product. They're gonna have to have some unique ideas to add to the table. I have some pretty cool ideas myself. More than likely, I won't get on the team, but always hoping. I will produce more Halo Wars videos in the future. Right now, I'm finishing up Batman Arkham Knight, and then after that, I think I'm gonna do a Dark Souls series. But after that, I'm planning on doing more Halo Wars videos, or at least one Halo Wars video every so often. So I think I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you very much for listening to me talk for 30 plus minutes straight. You are amazing if you sat through the entire video. Thank you very much. Make sure you scroll down below and click those links in the description. While you're down there, I'd appreciate if you click the like button before you forget. And also, click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. More Halo Wars videos and information is coming soon. So, thank you very much. I'll see you next time.